Good evening, good night, good morning. Like, subscribe, share, please. And hopefully you'll get something out of this, or somebody will. Um, I'm wearing shades not because I'm playing Hollywood cool, although I'm trying to play Hollywood cool, but my eyes are have been a little bit light sensitive, which they run occasionally. So I'm trying it with shades tonight. So I hope you enjoy the Hollywood shades. And shout out to Hollywood for that. Um, so I'm gonna make this a little bit of a different video. So I was on Twitter, I think yesterday, or the day before, and I saw on the Tesla website there was a reference to the settlement of a lawsuit for defamation that was brought in California, where it seems like there's a lot of litigation involving Tesla. And on the Tesla website, it claimed that the article that uh, summarized what had occurred was not, let's say, not accurate, or at least portions were not accurate. So and by the way, this is not legal advice, and not is KNOT, by the way, and it's not legal advice too. And uh, so anyway, I saw the headline and I thought it'd be interesting to investigate and let me come to some conclusion where I thought whether that was fairly presented or not, because it related to a legal issue. And before I go on with my legal discussion, as I've promised, and I know there's great demand for this, I'm doing a joke before I start. And tonight's joke is my friend and I are super competitive and we laugh about it, but I laugh more. Again, thanks to little Bruce T out there for that wonderful joke. So, anyway, the article that was referenced in the Tesla, I guess, Twitter space was in the LA Times. So I went and pulled the article, and it's surprisingly it was in the LA Times business section. So it wasn't an editorial, or it wasn't supposed to be an editorial. So I looked and saw it was in the business section. Then I looked, and I'm looking at it right now through my shades. Um, it said, the headline said, Musk said he'd never settle an unjust legal case against him. He just settled this one. I found that somewhat inflammatory when I read that. So then I read through the article and I noted there were other, I would say, opinion more than facts. For instance, in one place, there's reference to, or the writer characterized it, the Tesla cried uncle, like they gave up. And the basic premise, it sounds childish. So the basic premise is by resolving this lawsuit, which benefits everybody, by getting it over with, freeing up Elon, reducing cost, etc. But the premise is because Elon at one point in time said we'll never settle an unjust case against us, even if we will lose, and we'll never seek victory in a just case against us, even if we will win. So the premise of the article, and this is supposed to be a news article as opposed to an opinion piece, was that by settling a defamation suit for $10,000, that somehow was bad and was in the author's childlike mind somehow violated this basic meme that maybe Elon had asserted at some point in time. So let's examine what the case was. So what happened was, and this is what the story says. So I don't know the real facts, and all this is my opinion, of course. I did make a quick search, and did see that this case has been heavily litigated. It was filed, I believe, in 2019, so it just resolved 2019 or 2020. It's been 3+ years. Basically, what happened is the plaintiff in this case, and his name, I'm going to spell it, Hothi, Hothi. I'm going to say Hothi. That may be incorrect. He was a short a Tesla short seller. So he used to hang out at Fremont, used to sneak into the parking lot, and used to count cars and was suspicious of the Model 3 production as well as FSD. So he worked along, and apparently it's asserted in the piece that he held a short position. So he held a short position as to Tesla. Would sneak in. He apparently planted cameras at one point in time. At some point in time, Tesla got a later point in time got a temporary restraining order because of claims that he was harassing people in Tesla vehicles. So, some people might characterize that as kind of pretty nutty behavior. But anyway, so this guy who had been sneaking into Tesla lots, at one point in time, he snuck in again. He said he was going to the showroom. The guards had orders to ask him to leave. He then kind of turned his vehicle, and it's unclear whether he struck a guard with his car or came very close. It's one or the other. And he eventually left. Tesla tried to get the gentleman arrested, but apparently the police didn't want to pursue it, probably because the guard wasn't seriously injured. So time passed, and there was that encounter where I mentioned that he later went after a vehicle, a Tesla vehicle that had mounted cameras on it. Tesla got a TRO because it was going to go into a much broader case and disclosing potentially confidential information. They didn't pursue any further relief after that. That's my read on it. Subsequent to that, so after that, Elon was speaking to a Tesla critic, and he was talking about people who were adverse to Tesla, and Houthi came up, and apparently Elon emailed this gentleman and said that he almost killed a Tesla security guard, and Houthi's counsel sued Elon. One count of defamation. They said that they had no evidence to support that claim. So that's how it started. And what eventually happened is they had 3 years of litigation. It appears that Houthi had to raise money for legal fees. And eventually, notwithstanding whatever Elon might have mentioned, it didn't make sense not to resolve a trivial case that was taking him away from Tesla and causing Tesla to spend unnecessary legal fees. It also may be the case there might have been insurance involved, and if there's insurance involved and you want to retain the insurance, there may be no ability to consent. So perhaps the insurance company may have forced this. But the insurance company didn't enforce this, then his attorneys certainly should have, because they should have said, if we present a minimal offer to this gentleman, he'll have too much risk and it will resolve the case. And that's exactly what happened. So there's a tool in California called a 998 offer, and it's not really referenced in this article, by the way, so you really wouldn't understand it. And that's why I was kind of doing this video. So I have a legal background, so I'm obviously able to ascertain and I'm in California, cases in California, so I could figure out what's going on. But if you weren't somebody with a legal background in California, you may not know this stuff. And this is law, but it might involve physics on another piece. So to all people, when you're relying upon somebody who claims an expertise, make sure you verify it. If it's within common knowledge, that's fine. But like this legal stuff, it's helpful to know the answers. And the writer, and at the end, I'll show you what the big error is. But the writer obviously did not. And it's annoying when he's reporting on a legal case. So he's basically saying, so Tesla, what they did is they submitted a 998 offer for $10,000. What that means is, if the plaintiff in this case, since Tesla made the offer, did not accept that offer, and the case went forward, and he lost, then from the time of his non-acceptance of that offer, which is 30 days after the 998 offer is sent, he would be liable for costs, not legal fees, but costs. Costs could be filing fees, they could be deposition transcripts, those type of things. They could be substantial, especially because Tesla would heavily litigate this matter. So it's not that, like, they can't be insignificant, but they would be a fraction of what the legal fees would be. So the legal fees would be substantially more. But a 998 offer, except in really rare circumstances, don't involve the legal fees. So all that involved is just costs, future costs, as I described, deposition transcript, filing fees, etc. Again, which could be substantial but not historic. So Tesla presented, and that's not referenced in here, but Tesla gave them the 998 offer. They had 30 days to respond. At the end, they accepted it. So he accepted $10,000. So Tesla will pay him $10,000. He'll dismiss the case. The offer was without any admission of liability, so they haven't admitted to anything. Additionally, when the case was filed, because it was filed in Superior Court, so the one claim of defamation, again, that purportedly that Tesla had no evidence to support the claim that he almost killed somebody with his car, even though it seems like, to me, not a very strong claim, and I'm being very generous, to be honest. But when they offered him, the point is, so when he filed, he had to assert that he had more than $50,000 in damages, probably substantially more, but the minimum for Superior Court unlimited is $50,000 plus punitive damages, because it's a defamation claim. I'm certain there would have been a punitive damage claim. So the minimum he would be asserting would have been $500,000. So he went through all the legal fees, and in the end, he agreed to accept $10,000 to offset all his expenses that he has paid that supposedly corresponds to damage to his reputation. So if under those circumstances, if that is how he values his reputation, then his reputation is not very good, because he would be clearly upside down in this circumstance. So in my mind, the claim was not very strong, and his position was not very strong, and he was forced to give up the case in a proper strategic move utilized by Tesla counsel. And the nonsense about the promise about he promised this or promised that, that's like literally childish nonsense. So I get to the end of the article, and this is the part that really bothered me. So after all that is said, the very, very end of the article, the writer's trying to justify why the plaintiff in this case, who felt vindicated, supposedly, because he took a stand, not because he was seeking damages or money. Yeah, even though he was seeking damages and money, he got none, so he had to find some reason to justify it. But the writer says if he had lost the case, and I'm reading this, if he had lost the case, he could have been required to pay the billionaire's legal fee. I just told you that a 998 offer has nothing to do with payment of legal fees. So that is absolutely wrong. And that claim is false and untrue. And I don't know if the writer is just not accurate or is trying to shape opinion, but that's untrue. The only time it would be true, ironically, is if the plaintiff, in this case, Mr. Houthi, had made a intentionally false claim. So in other words, if he had sued Tesla and Elon, knowingly making a false claim without any basis for the claim, he could be sued for malicious prosecution. And the damages for malicious prosecution, or at least one element, are your legal fees. So I don't know if the writer is saying that Mr. Houthis' claim had no merit and that there was risk for him being found to be responsible for damages to Tesla due to malicious prosecution, or whether he's just uninformed. But he's inaccurate because the only thing at risk, as far as I could see, were costs. And I indicated that costs are not legal fees. So, because this is a legal, apparently an assertion of a legal analysis, and it's incorrect as to a key point, legal fees, because legal fees in this case for Tesla could be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So that would be a big deal, but costs could be $20,000. Could be more because there could be expert fees too, but that's quite different. And again, nowhere in the article, and it should have been, should the 998 offer, was it discussed? And the reference to being responsible for legal fees, which would have been the basis for the settlement, is inaccurate. And again, it could be slightly different, but it wasn't. This was not on a contract. This was a tort action on a claim of defamation or slander. So basically saying you're making an assertion about somebody that's untrue that harms them. That's basically what the claim is. And the plaintiff in this case, again, obviously didn't think his claim was worth very much. And to get out of the case at such a low amount in light of future costs is a big benefit for Tesla. And the article should be saying is Tesla got out of this at $10,000. How strong was Mr. Houthis' claim? Question mark. Anyway, so I did find the article to be not well done, misleading, and with a lack of professionalism, to be quite honest. Anyway, be sure to check out other articles about other subjects where experts are referenced, just to make sure. Because again, the people writing about what the experts say may not be correct. So please check it out.